Never sleep. If humans were forced to stay awake forever, the body would begin breaking down much faster than most people realize. On the very first night, the brain fights back with overwhelming waves of sleep that willpower can barely resist. A person can fight the darkness, but no one can defeat a brain demanding sleep. After only a few hours, focus begins to fade, reactions slow down, and small mistakes start appearing. Even more terrifying, the brain starts creating memory gaps, causing people to forget things they did only moments ago. As wakefulness continues, neurons begin falling out of sync, causing brain activity to become increasingly chaotic. Before long, the brain can create sounds that never existed or shadows that were never there. These aren't supernatural events. They're signs that the brain is entering severe sleep deprivation. Meanwhile, the heart keeps beating, the lungs keep breathing, and the muscles are forced to keep working. But the longer the brain stays awake, the more control it loses, and that's when the real danger begins. By the second day, concentration can completely collapse, even though the person still believes they're fully awake. That's when microsleeps begin interrupting everyday tasks, often without warning. A person may still have their eyes open, but the brain has temporarily disconnected from reality. Just a few seconds of lost awareness can be enough to cause a deadly car crash. By the third night, the body is no longer just exhausted. It begins paying the full price of sleep deprivation. The body starts releasing stress hormones, making it behave as if it's fighting to survive. The heart beats faster, blood pressure changes, and the immune system slowly becomes less effective. By now, everyone nearby is dealing with someone whose brain is slowly losing control. Sleep deprivation makes emotions harder to control and bad decisions much more likely. But the worst is still ahead, because the brain is getting closer to the point where it can no longer function normally. By the fourth day, the brain begins activating emergency systems to keep the body awake for as long as possible. Moments of alertness become shorter, while longer periods of confusion start taking over. Someone can be in the middle of a conversation, then suddenly forget what they were about to say. The brain also struggles to store new memories, making time and recent events feel confusing. Surprisingly, the people around them usually notice the mental decline before they notice it themselves. Someone may call their name several times, but they barely react or even seem to notice. At this stage, even one small mistake can quickly turn into a deadly accident. Missing just one important safety check could trigger a serious accident with devastating consequences. Throughout history, several major industrial disasters have been linked to extreme fatigue and sleep deprivation. As the brain loses sleep, it also becomes much worse at recognizing danger and making safe decisions. But the body still refuses to give up, releasing one last survival tool: adrenaline. Adrenaline speeds up the heart and creates a powerful but temporary feeling of being fully awake. To everyone around them, they may still look energetic, focused, and completely normal. But inside the brain, the regions responsible for attention are becoming more disconnected every hour. Even hunger begins to change, making it much harder to control cravings and food choices. The body starts craving sugary and high-fat foods because it desperately needs quick energy. That's why staying awake for too long can make someone behave almost exactly like a drunk person. The frightening part is that they often believe they're thinking clearly, even when they're not. Once the brain can no longer recognize its own exhaustion, every decision becomes harder to predict and far more dangerous. Eventually, the body has only one option left. It forces the brain to sleep, whether the person agrees or not. Without any warning, a microsleep can suddenly pull the brain out of full awareness for a few critical seconds. Their eyes may still be open, but the brain can completely stop processing what's happening around them. A driver may have no idea that their car is moving at full speed with almost no control. At the same time, the exhausted brain starts mixing memories with reality, creating brief visual hallucinations. A simple shadow in the corner of the room can suddenly look like a real person. But the hallucinations aren't the biggest danger. The brain is also losing its ability to judge reality. Even then, many people still believe they're thinking clearly and functioning completely normally. Meanwhile, everyone around them can clearly notice changes in their speech, movements, and reactions. The body is sending one final warning that staying awake forever is simply impossible. After days without sleep, the fight is no longer about staying awake. It's about staying alive. Eventually, the brain begins shutting down in small sections, causing brief blackouts that can no longer be resisted. Their body becomes unsteady, their speech starts breaking apart, and even simple movements become difficult. By this point, the people around them must step in to stop them from hurting themselves. The invisible enemy has won, because the brain simply cannot stay awake forever. The moment sleep finally begins, the body immediately starts repairing its most important systems. During deep sleep, the brain strengthens memories and restores its ability to think, learn, and process information. But one good night's sleep isn't always enough to repair the damage caused by days of sleep deprivation. That's the paradox. Humans can fight the urge to sleep, but they can never eliminate the need for it. After millions of years of evolution, sleep still exists because the brain simply cannot function without it. So if humans could never sleep, the greatest enemy wouldn't be the darkness. It would be a brain desperately trying to rest. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, discover more amazing stories next time.